have a good start here in our Senior C Mixed and U24 Mixed. This is race number 204. They are also doing 3 rounds for time. Lane 1, 22 Dragons. Lane 2, H2O Montreal. Lane 3, Rogue Dragons. Lane 4, Washington Masters. Lane 5, the Silverbacks. And Lane 6, Necro Dragon. So you've got 5 Senior C small boats and 1 U24 boat.
That's right, and that U24 boat is on the outside, Necker Dragon out of Germany, and it looks like they are leading this charge down this 500-meter course with a very, very strong boat so far. These small boats are hard to pick up, Bob.
Oh, they're incredibly hard to pick up. If you try and pick it up by yourself, you're definitely going to get hurt. Despite the fact that they're smaller than a standard boat, I think they're still somewhere in the neighborhood of 600-plus pounds. But I don't believe that's what you meant.
It's a little heavier than me.
Oh, God, yeah.
And it looks like boats 3 and 5 are also starting to come up. That is Rogue Dragons out of Florida and the Silverbacks of Germany. Those are both Senior C mixed crews.
I was going to say, you've got 5 Senior C mixed crews, and Necro Dragon, the lone U24 mixed boat. Talking about the steering, though, look at lane 1. They have just taken a huge S-curve towards the grandstands, perhaps to try and get the fans to cheer them a little louder. But at least they're in lane 1. Officials coming down. Not necessarily to wave a flag, but more to check out where exactly it is they're wandering to. They've not gained any particular advantage. They actually steered away from the field. So there's no chance of wash routing, I think, just as we're talking about. These small boats are incredibly finicky.
Well, that is 22 Dragons. Maybe they're on their way back to Montreal, Bob.
Oh, I don't know. Just feel bad. I am not envious of a steerer who gets behind in their steering on these small boats. But who's having no troubles with steering are the Necker Dragons out there in lane 6, the lone U24 mixed boat. Basically, if they get down the course for all 3 rounds and manage to keep the boat upright with everyone in the boat who starts the race finishing it, they are going to win the U24 mixed small boat. But we have a much closer race amongst the Senior C mixed crews. 22 Dragons in lane 1. They are outside looking in. But as we look, we have got the Silverbacks in lane 5 that are going to come across. So Necker Dragon takes the U24. Silverbacks are going to be first Senior C, followed by the Rogue Dragons, and then H2O Montreal, Canada. And rounding out the field, again, zigging right towards the tower, getting close so we can see them up close, 22 Dragons. And then the Washington Masters crossing in a virtual dead heat for the final position. Wait for the official results. White flags all around despite the bit of creative steering. For Lake Erie.
That was the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was...
Against the Giants.
That Super Bowl was in Tampa.
Yep.
And it was right after... And the boat race is underway, race 212. And it looks like in the outside lane, that's a U24 team, Neckar Dragon. That's a U24.
There are lone U24 entries. So you've got 5 Senior C crews, and then the Neckar Dragons are racing U24 off in the distance there in lane 6. So
lane 1, Silverbacks from Germany is putting on a good show. Out in lane 4, which is Rogue Dragons. They are a local team. They're from maybe a 45 minutes south of here. Rogue Dragons is a highly competitive team. We keep racing against them in a lot of the Florida races, West Central Florida races. My team races against Rogue Dragons quite a bit. They are a very competitive, very strong Senior C team.
In Canada, we call that Rouge.
Rouge.
Yeah, I think they're going with rogues as in we are rogue, not rouge as we are red.
Tu parles un petit peu de français, Kerry? The Rouge Dragons. Ah, mais oui. Allez.
Okay,
oh, my God, I've got Kerry coughing. I broke him. Was it the French? I'm sorry.
Silver Dragons are closing on Rogue Dragons, as is H2O Montreal. They're still maintaining the lead, but Silverbacks and H2O Montreal are giving it a good, strong run. They must have heard me. It looks like Rogue Dragons put a burst on. They're just past the 200-meter mark out in lane 6. Neckar Dragons U24 are having their own race out there. And Rogue Dragons is maintaining its lead in the Senior C Mixed, followed by Silverbacks and H2O Montreal.
Officials running close behind. Clean race so far. No warnings, no flag waving, no gesturing and international gestures.
Coming to about 100 meters, it is still Rogue Dragons. Silverbacks is putting on a finishing sprint.
Necker Dragons continuing to basically run the individual time trial as the only U-24 small boat mixed.
Silverbacks is going to make this an interesting finish. They're closing fast. I think Rogue is going to run out of real estate. It's going to be Silverbacks in 1, Rogue in 4, H2O in lane 2, followed by 22 Dragons, followed by Wham.
We know that's Wham. Can't miss those yellow hats and those gorgeous blue kits. Now, what's delightful here is I was watching down the body language being exhibited by the fans down here on the beach.
Race 217, small boat, senior C mixed, 5 of those, and U24 mixed, 1 of those out in lane 6. That is Necker Dragon out of Germany. In lane 1, we have the Rogue Dragons of Florida. Lane 2, 22 Dragons from Montreal. In lane 3, Washington Masters from Seattle. Lane 4, Silverbacks of Germany. And lane 5, H2O Montreal. They are off to very strong starts. It looks like out of the gates we have Rogue Dragons out of lane 1 leading this charge, but 22 Dragons is not very far behind. Necker Dragon again racing down the clock and racing themselves out in lane 6. They are off to a screaming start and are just now into their settle. Lane 2, 22 Dragons taking a very much lower rate than most of these other crews. But it looks like they may have found that swing because they're keeping up with the Rogue Dragons, only behind by about a seat and a half. In lane 5, H2O Montreal is starting to lead a little bit with the Silverbacks of 4 responding and trying to push through and push that head forward.
Necker Dragons out there pretty much plowing a lonely furrow, the only U-24 mixed team, but they've swept the first 2 rounds.
I have a feeling they'll sweep this one too, Bob.
Yeah, well, they are the only U-24 team, but if there's more than 2 boats going in the same direction, you're going to want to beat the other crew, so they're just doing their best. But no credit offered. A U-24 team versus a senior C team. Let's be fair.
And now, unfortunately, Rogue Dragons have fallen completely behind, and now we have a fight between the Silverbacks in 4 and H2O in 5 on who is going to pull silver and gold in this race.
Lane number 1, Rogue Dragons, flew out of the gates ahead of the other boats, but start to lose traction after transition.
They ran out of steam about halfway through, and unfortunately, like Bob has said, in the 500, it's really the settle. It's the body of this 500 that really makes the difference. That final push in the finish is important, and that start, you must get off to a nice, good start. But the settle, the swing here in the body is really what makes or breaks a good 500-meter race.
Any crew can have a good start, but it takes an exceptional crew to have a good start, a good body, and then seal the deal with the finish we're into right now. Last 100 meters, Matthew.
And in these last 500 meters, it is, in fact, the Silverbacks of Germany leading with H2O Montreal just on their tails, and I believe H2O Montreal is trying very, very hard to walk up on them, just trying to pass them here. Will they do it? Will they do it? I don't think so.
Silverbacks look like they've got a seat at the line.
And they're just expanding that gap. Silverbacks over the line first, followed by H2O. Unofficially, Rogue Dragons coming in third with 22, and Wham rounding out this heat, 2:15. Again, out in lane 6, the Necker Dragons ran a terrific race as well. Looking very strong throughout these U24 crews. They got a lot of energy, Bob.
White flags all around, and they should have a lot of energy. They made it look easy, though we know it certainly is not. 3 for 3 in the U24.
And in these small boats, too, again, very not easy. And here are the results. Unofficially, Necker Dragon in first in their U24 mixed division, 225.301. In first in Senior C mix, the Silverbacks with a 226.714. In second, H2O Montreal with a 227.595. In third, the Rogue Dragons with a 230.836. In fourth, 22 Dragons with a 232.269. And in fifth, Wham with a 236.18.